My therapist says I should write things down. She says it helps with the memory gaps, the ones where my brain decided certain years were too dangerous to keep. She says putting words to paper, or screen, whatever, forces the chaos into something linear, something I can look at from the outside. So, here goes. I'm 26 years old. I live in a one-bedroom apartment in a city 3,000 miles from where I grew up. I have a cat named Toast who doesn't judge me. I have a job that pays the bills and nothing more. And I have a family that, for all intents and purposes, stopped existing to me about 8 years ago. Except, they do exist. They're out there. My parents, my sister, my perfect golden, can do no wrong sister. This isn't going to be one of those stories where I pretend I've forgiven everyone and found peace. I haven't. Maybe I never will. But my therapist says I don't have to forgive to heal. She says I just have to tell. So I'm telling. If you're reading this and expecting neat endings and tidy lessons, close the tab now. This story doesn't have those. What it has is a lot of silences, a lot of small cruelties, and one night where everything finally broke. Let's start at the beginning, or as close to the beginning as I can remember. I was 7 years old when I first understood that love in my house was a limited resource, and none of it was meant for me. It was April 3rd, my birthday. I remember because I'd been circling the date on the kitchen calendar for 3 weeks, using the red crayon I wasn't supposed to touch because it was Emma's favorite color. Emma, my older sister by 2 years. Emma with the blonde curls and the dimples and the laugh that made adults melt. Emma who could do no wrong, who got everything she pointed at, who never once had to ask twice for anything. I was Leo. Plain Leo. Brown hair, brown eyes, the kind of face that people described as sweet when they were being generous and quiet when they weren't. I was the afterthought, the spare, the one my parents didn't plan, but God has a plan for everyone, right? That's what my mom used to say to her friends, laughing, while I stood right there in the hallway. Leo was our little surprise. We thought we were done after Emma, but you know how it goes. Surprise, that's a nice word for it. The word I learned later was accident. But back to the birthday. I woke up early, the way kids do on days that matter. The sun was just coming through my window. My room was the smallest in the house, the one that used to be a home office before they converted it. Emma's room was twice the size. She had a princess bed. I had a twin mattress on a metal frame my dad found at a garage sale. I ran downstairs in my pajamas, ready to see balloons. Maybe a pancake with a candle in it. Mom always made pancakes on Emma's birthday. Big fluffy ones with chocolate chips arranged in a smiley face. The kitchen was empty. No balloons, no pancakes, no happy birthday banner. Mom was at the table drinking coffee, scrolling through her phone. She looked up when I came in, but her face didn't change. Morning, Leo. There's cereal in the pantry. I stood there in my Batman pajamas, waiting for something. Anything, a hug, a happy birthday, even just a smile. Is Emma up yet? Mom asked. I don't know, I just woke up. Well, go check on her. She's got her dance recital today and we need to leave by 9. My birthday, April 3rd, her dance recital, a thing she'd been doing every Saturday for 2 years. Mom, I said, it's my birthday. She took another sip of coffee. I know, honey, we'll do something this weekend, okay? Tonight's all about Emma's recital, and your father has that work thing tomorrow, but Sunday there's no pancakes? The look she gave me then. I've seen it 1,000 times since. It was the look that said, why are you making this difficult? The look that said your needs are inconvenient. The look that said you are inconvenient. I can make you toast if you want, she said. I didn't want toast. I wanted one day where I mattered. Just one. But I didn't say that. I was 7, but I already knew that asking for things only made it worse. That wanting was a weakness. That the fastest way to get nothing was to admit you wanted something. So I poured my own bowl of cereal. I ate it standing at the counter because Emma's dance bag was taking up all the chairs at the kitchen table. And when Emma finally came downstairs at 8:30, all glitter and pink leotard and demanding attention, my parents lit up like someone had turned on a switch. Good morning, sweetheart. Dad said, coming out of nowhere to kiss her forehead. You ready to shine today? Can we get Starbucks after? Emma asked, already knowing the answer. Of course, baby. Whatever you want. Whatever she wanted. That was the rule of our house. Whatever Emma wanted, Emma got. And whatever Leo wanted, well, Leo should know better than to want. The recital ran long, it always did. 2 hours of tiny dancers doing the same routines to overplayed pop songs while parents cheered like it was the Olympics. I sat between my parents, who spent the whole time whispering about Emma's form, Emma's potential, Emma's future. She's really something special, Mom said. She gets it from you, Dad replied. I watched the stage. Emma was in the back row, third from the left. She kept messing up the timing. She wasn't bad exactly, but she wasn't good either. She was just there. Like me, I guess. Just there. But when the recital ended, my parents didn't see a kid who couldn't keep a beat. They saw a star. We're so proud of you, Mom said, crouching down to Emma's level with flowers in her hand. Flowers. For a Saturday recital. For a performance that wasn't even a competition. Did you see my solo? Emma asked. She didn't have a solo. No one had solos. But Emma had been telling everyone she would for weeks, and my parents just nodded along. It was beautiful, sweetheart, Dad said. And then we went to dinner. Emma's choice, because of course it was. She picked the Italian place with the giant pizza oven and the dessert counter. My parents ordered her a Shirley Temple with extra cherries. They let her get spaghetti and meatballs even though she always made a mess and never finished it. I ordered chicken fingers. Nobody commented on my order. Nobody asked if I wanted a special drink. At the end of the meal, a waiter came out with a slice of chocolate cake. There was a single candle in it, already lit. Happy birthday? The waiter said, looking around the table uncertainly. My mom laughed. Oh, that's for our son. It's his birthday, but we're celebrating his sister's recital, so... Just put it on the table, Dad said. The waiter set the cake in front of me. The candle flickered. For a second, nobody said anything. Make a wish, Emma said, but she said it like she was bored, like she was doing me a favor by remembering. I closed my eyes. I wished for something I knew wouldn't come true. I wished for my family to love me the way they loved her. I blew out the candle. And that was it. That was my 7th birthday. 2 weeks later, Emma got a new bike because she'd done so well at the recital. The bike was pink with streamers on the handles. She rode it up and down the driveway while I sat on the porch steps, watching. I didn't have a bike. I'd asked for one for my birthday. My mom said maybe next year. Next year never came, for anything. By the time I was 12, I had stopped expecting things. That was the secret to surviving in my house. Want nothing, need nothing, and maybe, if you were lucky, you'd get to exist in the spaces nobody else wanted. Our house ran on a system. Not one my parents ever acknowledged, but one that was there all the same. A scoreboard that only kept points for one person. Emma got the good bedroom. Emma got the new clothes. Emma got the phone when she was 11. Emma got her own tablet, her own laptop, her own TV. Emma got her own bathroom, which in a 3-bathroom house meant my parents had one, Emma had one, and I shared the guest bathroom with anyone who visited. Emma got to quit things when they got hard. Piano after 6 months, soccer after 1 season, art class, drama club, gymnastics, swimming. She tried everything and dropped everything. And each time my parents said, at least she's exploring her interests. I wasn't allowed to quit anything. I wasn't allowed to start anything either because that cost money. But if I did manage to get into something, a free after-school program, a borrowed instrument, hand-me-down equipment, I had to stick with it. We're not raising a quitter, my dad would say, as if that applied to me and not to Emma. The clearest memory I have from that time isn't a big dramatic moment. It's a Tuesday. Just a random Tuesday in October when I was in 7th grade. I'd gotten a B+ on a science test. A B+. That was good for me. Science wasn't my strongest subject, and I'd studied for 3 nights to pull it off. I was proud. I couldn't wait to show my parents. I found my mom in the kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner. "Mom, look." I held out the test. "I got a B plus on Mr. Henderson's test. He said only 5 people in the class got above a B." She glanced at the paper. "That's nice, honey. Can we put it on the fridge?" The fridge was covered in Emma's things. A's on spelling tests, ribbons from dance competitions she'd placed last in, drawings she'd done in 5 minutes while watching TV, a participation certificate from a school-wide readathon. My mom looked at the fridge, then back at me. "There's not really room right now. Maybe you can put it in your room." I could move something. "Leo, I said there's not room." That was the end of it. The test went into my backpack. Later I found it crumpled at the bottom, next to an old banana peel. I threw it away. Emma came home an hour later. She'd failed a math quiz. I saw it in her hand, the big red 47% at the top. "I don't get this stuff," she whined, throwing herself onto a kitchen chair. "It's so stupid. Why do we even need math?" My mom put down the knife. "Oh, sweetheart, don't worry about it. Math isn't everyone's thing. We'll get you a tutor." "I don't want a tutor." "Then we'll talk to your teacher. Maybe she can give you extra credit." "I don't want extra credit. I want pizza for dinner." My mom laughed. "We can do pizza." "Leo, put the vegetables back in the fridge." I stood there, the cutting board in my hands, the half-chopped carrots and celery ready to go into the stir-fry we'd been planning. "But you already started." "Leo, vegetables, fridge, now." I put them away. We ordered pizza. Emma got to pick the toppings, pepperoni and pineapple, which I hated. Nobody asked what I wanted. That night, I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. I was 12 years old, and I already knew that my parents' love wasn't something I could earn. It wasn't based on grades or behavior or achievement. It was just assigned. Like Emma had been assigned the good stuff, and I'd been assigned the leftovers. I thought about running away. I even packed a bag, a change of clothes, some granola bars, the $40 I'd saved from birthday cards, the ones from grandparents who always remembered, who always sent checks in envelopes with my name spelled right. But I didn't go anywhere, because where would I go? Who would take me? And some part of me, the stupid, hopeful part that refused to die no matter how many times it got crushed, still believed that if I was good enough, patient enough, invisible enough, things would change. Spoiler alert, they didn't. I was 15 when I realized that my parents weren't just neglectful, they were actively destructive. The car was the thing that broke me, but let me back up. I'd been saving for a car since I was 13, mowing lawns, shoveling driveways, doing odd jobs for neighbors. I had a little over $2,000 in a savings account that my dad had helped me open. My plan was to buy something cheap and reliable, a used Honda or Toyota, something that would get me to school and back and maybe, eventually, to a job that wasn't under the table. I didn't tell my parents about the plan, not because I thought they'd stop me, but because I didn't think they'd care. And that was fine. I was used to not being cared about. Then Emma turned 16. Emma had been talking about getting a car for months. Not just any car, a brand new one, a Jeep Wrangler specifically because all my friends have Jeeps and they're so cute, and I'll die if I don't get one. My parents, of course, agreed. They started shopping around in April. By June, they'd put a deposit down on a bright red Wrangler with all the upgrades, leather seats, premium sound system, a hardtop for the winter. "She deserves it," my mom said to my aunt on the phone. "She's worked so hard." Emma hadn't worked at all. She'd failed 2 classes sophomore year and had to take summer school. She spent most of her time at the mall or at friends' houses. She didn't have a job. She didn't have chores. She had anxiety, which apparently meant she couldn't be expected to do anything difficult. But fine. Whatever. Emma got the Jeep. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't even disappointed anymore. Disappointment requires hope, and I'd run out of that years ago. The thing that got me was what happened next. A week after Emma got her license and her brand new car, my dad called me into the living room. He was sitting on the couch with a serious expression, the kind he used when he was about to deliver news he expected me to handle gracefully. "Leo, Sit down. I sat. Your mother and I have been talking, he said, and we've decided that you won't be getting a car. I blinked. I have my own money. I was going to buy one myself. I know, but we can't have two teenage drivers in the house. The insurance would be too expensive. My own insurance. I'll pay for it. He shook his head. It doesn't work like that. You're a minor. The insurance is in our name, and we can't afford to add another car. But you just bought Emma a brand new Jeep. That's different. Emma needs reliable transportation. She has her social life, her extracurriculars. Emma doesn't have extracurriculars. She quit everything. My dad's jaw tightened. Don't talk about your sister that way. I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about me. I have a job. I've been saving for 2 years. I have the money. Why can't I? Because I said so. That was it. That was his whole argument. Because I said so. I stood up. You're taking my money. We're not taking anything. The money is still yours. You just can't use it for a car. For what then? What am I supposed to use it for? College, my mom said, coming in from the kitchen. She had her arms crossed, the way she did when she'd already decided something and wasn't going to change her mind. We've been meaning to talk to you about that. With Emma's college fund, we can't really contribute much to yours. You'll need to cover most of it yourself. Emma had a college fund, a substantial one from what I'd overheard. My grandparents on both sides had contributed for years. And I had... what? The $2,000 I'd saved from mowing lawns. That's not fair, I said. The words came out small, younger than I wanted them to. Life isn't fair, my dad said. Time you learned that. I learned it. God, did I learn it. The money stayed in the account. I didn't touch it. I stopped mowing lawns, stopped saving, stopped caring. What was the point? Whatever I earned, they'd find a way to take it. If not for a car, then for something else. My future wasn't mine. It never had been. That fall, Emma crashed the Jeep. It wasn't a bad crash. She rear-ended someone at a stoplight because she'd been texting. The airbags deployed. The front end crumpled. Nobody was hurt, but the Jeep was totaled. My parents bought her another one. A newer model this time. For the safety features, my mom explained. I didn't say anything. What was there to say? But that night, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went into the bathroom, locked the door, turned on the shower so nobody would hear, and I cried. Not the quiet kind of crying I'd perfected over the years, the ugly kind, the kind that comes from somewhere deep and broken and desperate. I cried for the car I wasn't allowed to buy, for the birthday I never got, for every dinner where nobody asked what I wanted, for every achievement that went unnoticed, for every time I'd made myself small and it still wasn't small enough. I cried for the 7-year-old who'd blown out a candle at his sister's recital dinner, and when I was done, I looked at myself in the mirror. Red eyes, puffy face, a teenager who looked 30. You're going to get out, I whispered to my reflection. You're going to leave this house and never come back. It was the first promise I ever made to myself that I actually kept. High school was a holding pattern. I went to class, kept my head down, got decent grades. Not great, I couldn't afford to be great because great required time and resources I didn't have. But decent. Good enough for a state school, maybe. Good enough to get out. Emma, meanwhile, was thriving in the way only a golden child can. She discovered that being pretty and popular was its own kind of currency, and she spent it freely. She had a new boyfriend every month. She went to parties every weekend. She got drunk at a football game and someone posted a video of her vomiting behind the bleachers, and my parents grounded her for exactly 1 week. When I got a C in math, 1 C, after a semester of B's, my parents threatened to take away my phone, which I paid for myself. My phone, which was on a prepaid plan that I funded with money from my job at the grocery store. If your grades slip any further, there will be consequences, my dad said. My grades are fine, everyone else's are worse. Don't make excuses. I didn't. I just stopped telling them about my grades at all. They didn't ask anyway. They were too busy managing Emma's latest crisis, the boy who'd cheated on her, The friend who'd betrayed her, the teacher who'd given her a D on a paper she'd written the night before. Junior year was when things got bad. I don't mean bad for me, I mean bad for everyone. The kind of bad that doesn't stay contained, that spills over and ruins everything it touches. Emma started dating a senior named Kyle. Kyle was 18, good-looking in a way that should have been suspicious, and had a reputation that everyone knew about but nobody talked about. He'd been suspended twice for fighting. He'd gotten his previous girlfriend pregnant and taken care of it, whatever that meant. He sold weed out of his car. My parents loved him. Such a polite young man, my mom said after he came over for dinner. He'd brought flowers for her, not for Emma, and complimented the lasagna. He'd called my dad sir and asked about his job. He'd performed politeness like a magic trick, and my parents had fallen for it completely. I didn't trust him. Not because I had any evidence, I didn't. Just a feeling. The same feeling I got when I walked into a room and knew, somehow, that something was wrong. The feeling was right. It was a Saturday night in March. I was in my room, doing homework, when I heard the front door slam. Then Emma's voice, high and shrill, cutting through the walls like a siren. "Get away from me, don't touch me!" I froze. My parents were out, some dinner party at my dad's boss's house. They wouldn't be back until late. I went downstairs. Emma was in the living room, backed against the wall. Kyle stood in front of her, his hands raised like he was calming a wild animal. His face was red. His knuckles were white. "Baby, I said I was sorry." "You hit me!" Emma was crying, mascara running down her cheeks. "You fucking hit me!" "I didn't hit you, I pushed you." "There's a difference. Get out. Get out of my house." "Emma, I said get out." Kyle saw me then, standing at the bottom of the stairs. His expression shifted from angry to something else, something calculating. "Tell your sister to calm down," he said to me. I didn't say anything. I just stood there, watching. "Leo, call Mom," Emma said. "She's not picking up," I said. I'd already checked my phone. "Then call the police." "Don't call the police," Kyle said. He took a step toward me. I didn't move. "This is between me and Emma. You don't want to get involved." "He hit me, Leo." I looked at my sister. For all the years of resentment, all the years of watching her get everything I never had, she was still my sister. She was still 15 years old, standing in our living room with tears on her face and a red mark blooming on her cheek. I looked at Kyle. He was bigger than me, stronger probably. But I was angry, not at him, not really, but at everything. At my parents, at the world, at the unfairness of a universe that gave Emma everything and me nothing, and still expected me to protect her. "You need to leave," I said. Kyle laughed. "Or what?" I didn't have an answer to that. I was 16 years old, 140 pounds soaking wet, and the only weapon I had was my phone, so I held it up. "Or I film you threatening a minor and send it to every person at this school." Kyle's smile faded. He looked at the phone, then at me, then at Emma. "This isn't over," he said. But he left. The door closed behind him. Emma slid down the wall and sat on the floor, sobbing. I stood there for a long moment. Then I sat down next to her. "Are you okay?" I asked. "No," she said. "No, I'm not okay." I didn't know what to do. I'd never comforted anyone before. My parents didn't comfort me, and I'd never learned how. So I just sat there, shoulder to shoulder with my sister, while she cried. When my parents got home, everything changed. Emma told them what happened. The pushing, the threats, the red mark on her face that was already starting to bruise. She told them everything, and I backed her up. I told them about the phone call I'd threatened to make, about how Kyle had left only because I'd scared him off. My parents listened. They nodded. They looked concerned. And then my dad said, "Well, Emma, you know how boys can be. Maybe you provoked him." I couldn't breathe. "Dad," I said, "he hit her." "She's not denying that, but we don't know the full story." "Emma, what were you arguing about?" Emma's face crumpled. "Why does that matter? He hit me." "We're just trying to understand," my mom said. "Kyle's always been so nice to us. Maybe there was a misunderstanding." A misunderstanding. My boyfriend hits me, and it's a misunderstanding. I looked at my parents. I looked at Emma, who was shrinking in on herself the way I'd learned to do years ago. And I understood something that I'd been trying not to see for my entire life. My parents didn't love Emma because she was perfect. They loved her because she was theirs. And I wasn't. Not really. I was the surprise, the accident, the one they'd never asked for. And no amount of good behavior or loyalty or protection would ever change that. You know what? I said. I'm done. Nobody asked what I meant. I left for college 2 weeks after my 18th birthday. I'd gotten into a state school 4 hours away, nothing prestigious, nothing that impressed anyone at graduation, but it was far enough. Far enough that I wouldn't have to come home for weekends. Far enough that I could pretend I didn't have a family at all. I paid for it myself. Tuition, housing, meal plan, books, every penny. I worked 2 jobs freshman year, sometimes 3. I ate ramen for dinner and skipped meals when I had to. I didn't call home. They didn't call me. I told myself I didn't care. Sophomore year, things got better. I found a cheaper apartment off campus. I got a raise at the bookstore. I made friends, real friends, the kind who didn't know my history, who didn't look at me with pity or suspicion. For the first time in my life, I was just Leo, not the unwanted son, not the forgotten brother, just a guy trying to get through college. I even started dating. A girl named Maya who was in my psych class, who had dark curly hair and a laugh that filled up a room. She was the first person I ever told about my family, the whole story, all of it, spilling out one night in her dorm room while she held my hand and didn't say a word. "That's fucked up," she said when I finished. "Yeah," I said, "it is." She didn't try to fix it. She didn't tell me to forgive them or to let go of the past or any of the other things people said when they didn't know what else to say. She just held my hand and let me be sad. I loved her for that. I still love her for that, even though we're not together anymore. We broke up senior year, different paths, different plans. It was amicable. It still hurt like hell. But college couldn't last forever, and when it ended, I had to figure out what came next. I'd majored in communications, not because I was passionate about it, but because it was practical. I graduated with decent grades, no debt, thank God, and a vague plan to find a job in marketing or PR, something that paid enough to keep me alive. The job market was brutal. I sent out 100 applications, got 5 interviews, and landed 1 offer. A marketing assistant position at a mid-sized company in a city I'd never visited. The pay was terrible. The hours were worse. I took it. And that's where I was. 3 years out of college, living in a studio apartment, working a job I didn't care about, when my sister called. I almost didn't answer. The number wasn't saved in my phone, but I recognized it. Same area code as my parents. Same first 3 digits as the house line. I let it ring. Voicemail picked up. "Hey Leo, it's Emma." A pause. "I know we haven't talked in a while. I need to talk to you. Can you call me back? Please?" Another pause. I could hear her breathing. "It's important." The voicemail ended. I stared at my phone for a long time. It had been 4 years since I'd seen any of them in person. 2 years since I'd exchanged a text with my mom on Christmas, a generic "Merry Christmas" that I'd responded to with the same. I had no idea what Emma was doing, where she was living, whether she was still the golden child, or if the world had finally caught up with her. I didn't call her back. She called again the next day, and the day after that. On the 4th day, I answered. "Leo." She sounded relieved. "Thank God, I didn't think you were going to pick up." "I almost didn't. What do you want?" "That's not fair. You don't even know why I'm calling." "Then tell me." A long silence. I could hear background noise, traffic, maybe, or a TV. She wasn't at home. "I need to tell you something," she said finally. "And I need you to promise you'll hear me out." "I'm not promising anything." "Leo, please." The word please hit me harder than I expected. Emma had never said please, not to me. She'd never had to. She'd always gotten what she wanted without asking. Fine, I said. I'm listening. She took a breath. Mom and Dad are getting divorced. I waited for the news to land, for some feeling, shock, sadness, satisfaction, anything. Nothing came. Okay, I said. That's all you have to say, okay? What do you want me to say, Emma? They made their choices. I made mine. This is serious. Dad's been having an affair for 3 years. With someone from work. Mom found out last month. She's been staying with Aunt Carol. 3 years. I did the math. 3 years ago, I was a sophomore in college, working 2 jobs, eating ramen, calling nobody. 3 years ago, my dad was cheating on my mom, and I was too far away to know or care. Does this have anything to do with me? I asked. Leo, I'm serious. You called me 4 times. You said it was important, but this isn't my problem. None of it is my problem. She's your mother. She's the woman who told me there wasn't room on the fridge for my B+. Silence. I remember that, Emma said quietly. I remember a lot of things. Then you know why I'm not coming home. I'm not asking you to come home. I'm asking you to talk to me. I'm asking you to... Her voice cracked. I'm asking you to be my brother. I closed my eyes. I thought about all the years I'd wanted exactly that. A sister who saw me, who acknowledged that I existed, who treated me like I mattered. And now, when I'd finally stopped wanting it, she was offering it. Why? Because her world was falling apart? Because she needed someone to lean on, and I was the only one left? That wasn't fair. I knew it wasn't fair. But fairness had never been part of our family's vocabulary. Emma, I said, I'm sorry about the divorce. I'm sorry about Mom and Dad. But I can't be what you need right now. I'm barely holding myself together. You could try. I have been trying my whole life, and I'm tired. She started crying. Not the dramatic sobbing I remembered from childhood, but something quieter, something real. I didn't ask for any of it, she said. I didn't ask to be the favorite. You didn't have to ask. You just were. I know, and I'm sorry. 3 words I'd never heard from her. 3 words I'd never heard from anyone in my family. I didn't know what to do with them. They sat in the air between us, too heavy and too light at the same time. Thank you, I said, and I meant it. But I can't. I hung up. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed with toast purring on my chest, staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation over and over. She'd said she was sorry. Emma, the golden child, the one who'd never had to apologize for anything in her life, had said she was sorry, and she'd sounded like she meant it. But did it matter? Did an apology fix anything? Did it give me back my childhood, my birthdays, my car, my sense of self? Did it undo the years of being the afterthought, the spare, the unwanted? No, of course not. But maybe that wasn't the point. I thought about what my therapist had said, back when I could afford therapy. She'd told me that healing wasn't about getting an apology. It was about accepting that the apology was never coming, and learning to live with that, except the apology had come, sort of. Not from my parents, I'd stopped waiting for that years ago, but from Emma, from the person who'd benefited most from the system my parents had built. Did she even understand what she was apologizing for? Did she know about the birthdays, the car, the money, the way I'd been pushed aside again and again to make room for her? Or was she just sorry in a general vague way, sorry that things had turned out badly without understanding her role in it? I didn't know, and I wasn't sure I wanted to find out. 3 days later, my mom called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Leo, it's your mother. I'm sure Emma told you about your father and me. I just wanted you to hear it from me. We're getting a divorce. It's been a long time coming. I know you have your own life now, but I'd like to see you. Maybe we could have lunch sometime? Call me back. Long time coming. That was one way to put it. I didn't call back. A week after that, my dad called. His voicemail was shorter. Leo, your mother and I are separating. I'm not going to get into the details, but I think you should know. I hope you're doing well. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. That was it. That was the sum total of my father's parenting advice, delivered in a voicemail after 4 years of silence. I deleted the message. A month passed, then 2. I went to work. I came home. I fed toast. I watched TV. I lived my small, quiet life, and I told myself that I was fine. I wasn't fine. The call had stirred up things I'd thought were buried, memories I'd locked away in boxes labeled "Do Not Open," the birthday pancakes I never got, the car I wasn't allowed to buy, the college fund that didn't exist, the B+ that wasn't good enough for the fridge. I started having nightmares, not about my parents or Emma, but about the house itself. The way the hallways seemed to get longer every time I walked through them, the way my room kept shrinking, the way I'd call out for someone, anyone, and nobody would answer. I stopped sleeping, started drinking. Nothing serious, nothing that anyone would notice, but enough to take the edge off, enough to make the memories blur at the edges. One night, I got drunk and did something stupid. I looked up my family on social media. My parents' profiles were private, but Emma's wasn't. She'd posted a photo from a few weeks ago, her and my mom at some restaurant, both smiling, both holding up glasses of wine. The caption said, "Girls' night with my favorite person, my favorite person." I stared at the photo for a long time. My mom looked older, more tired, but she was smiling. She was happy. With Emma. Without me. I closed the app. I poured the rest of my drink down the sink, and I sat on my kitchen floor with toast in my lap, and I let myself feel all of it. The anger, the sadness, the loneliness, the desperate childish wish that someone, anyone would choose me for once. Nobody did. 6 months after Emma's call, I went home. Not because I wanted to, not because I'd forgiven anyone, but because my therapist, I'd started going back, using a sliding scale at a community clinic, said that sometimes you need to face things head on, not to reconcile, not to fix, just to see. Closure is a myth, she said, but clarity isn't. Go see them. See what's actually there, not what you're imagining. Then decide what you want to do next. So I went. The house looked smaller than I remembered. The lawn was overgrown. The paint was peeling on the shutters. It looked like a house that had been neglected, the way I'd been neglected. My mom answered the door. She looked older than she had in Emma's photo. Her hair was gray at the roots. Her eyes were puffy. "Leo," she said, like she couldn't believe I was real. "Hi, Mom." She hugged me. I let her. It felt like hugging a stranger. "Come in," she said. "Emma's here. Your father isn't. He's not living here anymore. It's just us girls." Just us girls. I was the afterthought even now. I stepped inside. The house smelled different. Musty. Like nobody had opened the windows in a while. The kitchen was the same cabinets, same fridge, same magnets holding up the same drawings from Emma's childhood. My things had never been on that fridge. They never would be. Emma came down the stairs. She'd changed, lost weight, cut her hair short, gotten a tattoo on her forearm. She looked older than 24. She looked tired. "Leo," she said. "Emma." We stood there 3 feet apart, not knowing what to do with our hands. "Thanks for coming," my mom said. "I made coffee, and I bought those cookies you used to like. The ones with the chocolate chips?" I didn't remember ever liking those cookies. Those were Emma's cookies. But I didn't say anything. We sat in the living room, the same living room where Kyle had pushed Emma against the wall, the same living room where I'd watched my parents choose her over and over again. "So," my mom said, "how's work?" We made small talk for 20 minutes, the kind of conversation you have with a coworker you don't particularly like. The weather, the traffic, the apartment I was renting, the cat I'd adopted. I didn't tell them about the drinking. I didn't tell them about the nightmares. I didn't tell them about the years of therapy, the money I'd spent trying to undo the damage they'd done. What was the point? They wouldn't believe me. Or worse, they'd believe me, and they wouldn't care. Finally, Emma couldn't take it anymore. "Mom," she said, "we need to talk about it." "Talk about what?" "The divorce, the way things ended, the way things have always been." My mom's smile flickered. I don't think that's necessary. It is necessary. Emma looked at me. Leo came all this way. We owe him an explanation. We owe him. I waited. Your father and I, my mom said slowly, had our problems. We tried to work through them. For you girls, for you kids. But sometimes things don't work out. Things didn't work out because Dad was cheating on you, Emma said, and because you let him treat Leo like garbage for 18 years. My mom's face went pale. That's not... It is. I remember. I remember everything. I remember the birthdays, the car, the way you never went to his school events, the way you spent all the money on me and left nothing for him. You were our daughter, and he was your son, Mom. You had 2 kids, not 1. The room was very quiet. I sat on the couch, not moving, not breathing, watching my mother's face crumble. Is this true? My mom asked me. Do you feel like we treated you differently? Do you feel, not did we treat you differently, not we're sorry if we hurt you, just do you feel? I looked at her. This woman who'd given me life, who'd fed me and clothed me and kept a roof over my head. This woman who'd never once told me she was proud of me. This woman who'd made me feel like an inconvenience every single day of my childhood. Yes, I said. I feel like you treated me differently, because you did. She started crying. Quiet tears that rolled down her cheeks while she stared at her hands. I didn't know, she said. I didn't realize. You didn't want to realize, Emma said. None of us did. I stood up. My legs were shaking. I didn't come here for an apology, I said. I didn't come here to fix anything. I came here because my therapist told me I needed to see you, to remind myself why I left. Leo, please, my mom started. I'm not your son, I said. I never was. I was the surprise, the accident, the one you didn't plan for and didn't want. And I've spent my whole life trying to earn a place in this family that was never going to exist. That's not true. It is true, and I think you know it. I think you've always known it. I walked to the door. Emma followed me. Leo, wait. I stopped. I didn't turn around. I'm sorry, she said. I know I said it before, but I'm sorry. For all of it. For being the favorite. For not seeing what was happening to you. For not saying something sooner. Okay. Is there anything I can do? I turned around. She was crying too, her mascara running, her face raw with something that looked like genuine remorse. Be better, I said. For your kids, if you have them. Don't do to them what our parents did to us. I won't. And leave me alone. She flinched. But she nodded. I walked out the door. I got in my car. I drove 4 hours back to my apartment. Back to Toast. Back to my small, quiet, lonely life. And I didn't look back. That was 2 years ago. I'm 26 now. I still live in the same apartment. I still have Toast. I still work the same job, though I got a promotion last year, assistant manager, which means more money and more stress. I don't talk to my parents. I don't talk to Emma. I don't know if they're okay, and I don't want to know. Some doors need to stay closed. I still have nightmares sometimes. I still have bad days. I still catch myself expecting to be ignored, overlooked, forgotten. Old habits die hard, but I'm better than I was. I'm in therapy. I'm not drinking anymore. I've started writing, not just journaling, but stories. Fictional ones about people who aren't me. It helps. Last week I got a letter, handwritten, in an envelope I almost threw away without opening. It was from Emma. She wrote that she'd been in therapy too, that she was starting to understand what our parents had done, not just to me, but to her. That being the golden child had damaged her in ways she was still uncovering, that she didn't expect me to forgive her, but she wanted me to know that she was trying to be better. She ended with this. You deserved better. We both did. I read the letter 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer. I haven't responded. I don't know if I will. Maybe someday. Maybe not. But here's what I've learned, after all of it. Love isn't supposed to be something you earn. It's supposed to be something you're given, freely and without conditions. And if you grow up in a house where love is a prize you have to win, you spend the rest of your life trying to win it from people who will never give it to you. I'm done trying to win. I'm not healed, I'm not whole, I'm not the person I could have been if I'd been loved the way I should have been. But I'm here. I'm alive. And every day, I'm learning to love myself the way my parents never did. That's not a happy ending, but it's a real one. And for now, that's enough.